Green. Yep.
We're checking the same thing.
Especially when the Blue Angels come, they fly this way. What they do. And they fly in the air landing.
And then as your participants come in, you're probably going
Straight
to.
flat. Yeah, and just barely creeping along. Yeah.
Your mind information right over there.
It's flat.
It's that.
Yeah, okay. Oh, they're going slow.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. When you get ready to retire.
Hey, Stephen,
Yeah,
can you hear me and see me?
but Greg hasn't looked back.
Let me click to get a better view. Yes. Now I
Okay.
have you more full screen.
Thank you.
Saw the test.
How do I sound?
You sound great.
Okay. Yeah, I'm using a headset. It's always want to test to make sure it works right.
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
The PowerPoint presentation, right?
Going, yes, going home and that stuff.
Yeah, at least in the mountains.
Stephen?
over there.
Yeah.
They're spending some time up there.
We're gonna get started in about 5 minutes.
I'm talking about peanut butter crackers.
That's right.
Good morning, everyone, here in person and on Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sasha Warren, and I'm a Public Information Officer with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I'm so happy that you're here today. I'm very proud to be in my hometown, my home county, to work on Hurricane Helene, the most recent disaster that impacted our region. And while we are on the ground to support Helene, while Beaufort County wasn't as impacted as some of the western part of the state, or even you could say North Carolina, it's a good time for us to discuss preparedness and get the word out about what you can do as a homeowner, a renter, a small business owner, a director of a nonprofit, what you can do to prepare yourself and the resources that are available to you. So before I get started, I just wanted to quickly talk about some of the current numbers as far as it comes to funding in the state of South Carolina for this disaster. And as of this morning, we have approved, the SBA has approved they have dispersed $64 million for homeowners, renters, and businesses and nonprofits who've been impacted by this disaster. I'm joined by quite a few members of the community here locally.
Space bar. Maybe
Oh, he's not.
On the computer.
Where is it? Do the old-fashioned one. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Rolling the mouse seems to work as well. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to just go ahead and introduce each member that is going to be speaking with us today. First up will be Scott Bowman of the Beaufort Regional Chamber, followed by Marilyn Harris from the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce. We have Mr. William Furman here. He is my compadre in the SBA. He works with the South Carolina District Office. They have several offices across the state. He'll talk to you about that. We also have Martin Goodman. He's the area manager and business consultant for the Beaufort Area Small Business Development Center of USCD. Stephen Clark will be joining us remotely. He's a public information officer with the SBA, currently deployed up in Greenville, South Carolina. And John O'Toole, thank you for joining us, Director of the Beaufort County Economic Development. So first up,
We come up to the podium.
yes, sir, if possible, that'd be great. And I can just manage the slides from here.
Good morning, everybody here and out there on Zoom. My name is Scott Bowman. I am the Director of the Membership Development here at the Beaufort Regional Chamber of Commerce. Currently, we have just over 660 active investors here at the Chamber. I like to call them investors instead of members. If you're looking for a membership, Planet Fitness is down the road. So we like to call everybody investors, because you're investing your business, your time into us to help promote your business and advocate for your business. So we want to invest back into you. We are a regional chamber of commerce, so I know no bounds. I'll promote and advocate for everybody anywhere that I can. As long as you want that, we're here. We have our tiers and benefits that range from $375 a year as a startup, all the way up to a visionary, which is $10,000 a year within a leadership circle. Our average cost per investor is about $654. So the $375 startup and the $600 business level, they are pretty much taken care of by the other levels that we have, which allows for the true startup and the true business level to come in and earn the benefits that we have here at the chamber and potentially move up to take care of other startups and businesses later on down the road. I appreciate your time and thank you for being here, everybody. And if you have any other questions, my email is sbowman@beaufortchamber.org. I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Marilyn Harris, and I am, as a few minutes ago, the executive director / president / CEO, pick one, of the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce, or affectionately known as BCBCC. Just for clarification, people often want to know why you need both a BCBCC and the Regional Chamber of Commerce. We are partners, and so our chamber is a member of the Regional Chamber, and the Regional Chamber is a member of our chamber. The biggest difference is we target minority businesses for support and membership, and we offer benefits to minority businesses by providing information regarding small business administration loans, USDA loans, and CDFI loans. And in many cases, we are able to facilitate loans up to $50,000 for individuals who come to us who express a need. I like to think about what we do in this community in terms of packing a parachute. So Ms. Sasha, if you'll just give me a couple of minutes, I'll see if I can shorten a little story about a gentleman who fought in a not too long ago war. He was a Navy person who was a Navy pilot, high-powered, big-time guy, who would walk through, by his own admission, he'd walk through and he'd see where sailors were packing parachutes. Sometimes he spoke to them, he remembered, sometimes he didn't, because he was, after all, a big-time fighter pilot. Many missions later, he had the experience of his plane crashing. His experience involved escaping by use of his parachute. His parachute, in fact, saved his life. Many years later, in retirement, he found himself in a restaurant. And somebody walked up to his table at that restaurant, and I asked him by name if that was who he was. He said, well, yes, how do you know me? He said, well, you were a fighter pilot, and you crashed, and you were this very important person. And he said, yes, how do you remember all of that? He said, I packed your parachute. And the gentleman who's telling the story is, in fact, the pilot who parachuted. And one of the things that he likes to go around and speak about is the idea that sometimes we don't pay attention to the people who are the most important in our lives, the people who pack our parachutes. So I'd like to say that at the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce, we're in the business of packing parachutes. We're in the business of taking care of those who pack parachutes. So that's what distinguishes us. And we're always growing, we're always here. We're happy to have been invited by the SBA to allow our facility to be used as a focal point or a place where individuals who need support through the SBA for preparedness, for disaster relief to come to us, and so that we can guide them back to the SBA. We allowed them to use our property, our space for a pop-up, and we've invited them to come back anytime. And so if you in the audience needs help from the SBA, or if you need someone to pack your parachute, give us a call. We can help facilitate that. My name is Marilyn Harris. I lead the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce, and we're here to support this community and to serve you. Thank you.
Is this working here, sir?
Good morning, everyone. I am Mark Goodman, and I am the area manager for the Small Business Development Center here in Beaufort. The Small Business Development Center is a federal and state program. We are a nationwide program. There are SBDCs in all states and territories across the USA. Here in South Carolina, we have 21 centers that cover all 46 counties. In Beaufort, we have 2 consultants. I'm here in the Beaufort area. We also have a consultant, Patrick Cameron, who is the consultant in the Hilton Head area that is at USCB in Hilton Head. My office is at USCB here, right down the street. In 2024, the 2 offices in Beaufort County, we assisted 163 clients. We had 17, we assisted clients with 17 new business starts. The capital financing, which was a very low number for us because lending is very tight right now through banks and financial institutions. We assisted folks with $1.8 million in capital financing and equity And as a result of our activities, our clients created or saved 268 jobs. This is the two offices, and I'm sure Sasha is going to, for those of you who are on Zoom, will share the slide deck with you, but our contact information is there. We cover the Low Country, Beaufort, Jasper County, but primarily Beaufort County. The Small Business Development Center program is a federal and state program. We get funding from Congress. It is administered, we are an administered program by SBA. The SBA is the one that regulates us, and we work with SBA. We are a resource partner of SBA. The state legislature funds us as well as Beaufort County funds us. We do one-on-one business consulting. Our program, as I said before, is available in all 50 states and territories. We assist new business owners, pre-venture as we call them, as well as existing business owners. Our consulting services are at no cost to our clients. So we're basically your tax dollars at work. Everything that we talk about, all the information that we put together, any communications that we have, even acknowledging that someone is a client of ours, is held in strict confidentiality. So all of our information, all of our consulting is strictly confidential. And in fact, the data is protected by federal law. We work with women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and family-owned businesses. And for those of you who may be in a family-owned business in that environment, you'll know that there are some dynamics that have to be dealt with, both at the family structure as well as dealing with the business. So we assist clients with those. And I think I missed veterans on that. Certainly we work with veterans. For entrepreneurs or pre-venture, we get a lot of just business questions about how do you start a business, or what's the steps of starting a business. Licensing and permit we get a lot of questions about what kind of licenses am I going to be required to have in my business. So we provide that data. For business planning purposes, we have access to Vertical IQ and IBIS World, which are two industry-leading database programs. So we can pull industry data reports for businesses and provide them to our clients so that they have an idea of what the overall industry is doing, so that they can narrow that down to their locale and use that data to grow their business or perhaps to start that business. We do a lot of financial projections and analysis. That's kind of what my specialty is. I do a lot of work with financials and financial projections, especially with loan packaging for clients that are looking to borrow money. The banks and the SBA require 3 years of financial projections. So we work with clients extensively, helping them put that together. We do business plans. We don't write them for people, but we help them write them. We certainly do a lot of review and revisions and editing for our clients. Again, we do a lot of loan packaging. A lot of our clients are referred to us by banks. So we help their clients in preparing the loan documents for the loans. We do webinars, and we have an extensive library on our website at www.scsbdc.com. There's probably 50 or 60 webinars on there that are accessed. You can access them 24/7, and they are at no cost. And they are a vast variety of business subjects, everything from how to start a business, how to get a loan, to government contracting, exporting, cybersecurity, disaster planning. There should be a couple of mine for disaster planning. With existing businesses, we assist with loan packaging, Of course, business analysis. We do a lot of strategic planning with existing businesses. And part of our strategic planning process is disaster planning. We have, for those of you here in the room, there's some of these plans there for those of you on Zoom. We can send you a copy of this disaster plan. It is a plan outline that is a disaster contingency plan. We are going to put a big push this year from our network, for our statewide network, to encourage more businesses to do a disaster contingency plan. This past year has shown no one, when I first started doing disaster planning workshops years ago, the sole focus pretty much was hurricane. You know, what do we do when we evacuate? What happens in the recovery? How do we, recover and get businesses up and running? Well, now we found that there's a lot more to disaster planning than a hurricane. Nobody in North Carolina or Eastern North or Western South Carolina would have thought that their business would be impacted by a hurricane, but it was. Cybersecurity is a huge disaster threat, and we have a team of 4 consultants across the state that can assist people in analyzing their databases and so forth to make sure that they are resistant to attacks through cybersecurity. So we are going to put a big push on. If a disaster does occur, we do a lot of assisting in the pop-up centers and in the disaster recovery centers, and assisting our clients to fill out the necessary applications and put that information together so that they can apply for disaster loans and disaster programs. So we are there to assist both beforehand with disaster preparation and then after the fact with disaster assistance to help people get back up and running. It is a known fact that if you can get businesses back up and operational, the recovery process happens a lot quicker. So we try to help with that. We also do, with existing business, a lot of human resource assistance, answering questions about HR, as well as helping clients prepare employee manuals. We help with payroll tax assistance, assist with business equity, entity establishment. I do a lot of work, and so does Pat, of clients coming in and sitting down, and we help them walk through the process of establishing an LLC through the South Carolina Secretary of State's office and getting their EIN so that they have an established business entity. We have 3 consultants across our state that focus on government contracting and procurement, and they can assist with anybody wanting to do business with the government, both at a local, state, and federal level. We have 6 or 7 consultants that are certified as export consultants, so they can help with clients that are looking to get into the export business. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have the cybersecurity clients. So, happy to help anybody. My contact information is there, and please give us a call.
Did you go?
No. Okay.
Sorry.
I'll take you there.
Good morning, I'm William Furman. I'm the security manager with SBA. I am housed in Charleston, the coastal area of South Carolina, and just really glad to be here today. I just want to touch base on a few things that SBA does. I know we're here to talk about disaster recovery, disaster preparation, and but SBA does other things as well. Sasha, I want to say we're very fortunate to have you here and able to do this for us. So we certainly appreciate that. So SBA, we like to say SBA works to ignite change and spark action so small businesses can confidently start, grow, expand, and recover. So, what does that really mean? Well, SBA provides really four major programs to assist small businesses with these things. And I'm going to touch briefly on all of these. Any one topic I could, speak all morning on. So we're just going to really kind of hit the highlights and give you some resources and some links that you can go and find out more information, or feel free to reach out to me and I'll help you with that too. But SBA, as Martin mentioned, SBA provides or partners with what we call resource partners. And these are organizations that SBA provides funding to and support to, so that they can really work as our boots on the ground and work with those small businesses one-on-one. So they provide professional business counseling and consulting at no cost to those businesses. So we have our counseling programs. We have our capital access programs, or our loan programs, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but you've probably heard about SBA loans. We also have federal government contracting programs to help the government get those contracting dollars into the hands of small businesses. And then we also have a recovery program, which we're going to talk more about later on. So just so you know who our resource partner network is, we do have SCORE. That is a volunteer organization, and they are comprised for the most part of retired business owners and professionals. They work in a big part is really provide mentorship to those small businesses. We have, as Martin said, the Small Business Development Center. They are really big and helpful with creating those business plans and helping those businesses obtain financing. We do have women's business centers across the state. As you imagine, they focus on woman-owned small businesses. So we have those. Have one with the Southern Palmetto Regional Chamber. We have one up in Greenville. And then we have one in Charleston, so kind of have the state covered there. And then most recently, we're able to obtain funding to obtain a Veterans Business Outreach Center, or what we call the VBOC. And they focus on veteran-owned small businesses, and they are actually housed at the Citadel. So that was a really good addition in the last couple of years. And they work in a big part to help those military personnel that are transitioning out of active military duty into the private sector. So what better way, than consider going, into business for yourself. So we have all of those. These are live links. Again, we'll get these slides out to you, and you can, if you have an interest in any one, you can look those up. So build capacity as your business develops. Grow and expand. A really good way to do that is through federal contracting. The world's largest customer is the U.S. government. They buy all kinds of products and services, anything from B-1 bombers to paper clips, right? I mean, it's just across the board in what the government purchases, whether it's goods or services. So the government is required by law to try to they have a goal to spend at least 23% of all those contracting dollars with small businesses. So they're actively trying to, purchase those goods and services from small businesses. So it's a really good opportunity. You can go to our website. Again, I'm just going to try to keep driving you back to the website to get more information. We do workshops on a regular basis if you're interested in doing government contracting. We have one called Contracting 101. That kind of goes through the steps of what you need to do business with the government. But one of the ways that the government gets those funds into the hands of small businesses is through a certification program. And these are set-aside programs, meaning that if a business holds one of these certifications, they are the only ones that can actively bid for that contract. And so we have four major certification programs. We have one called the 8A Business Development Program, and that is a program for socially and economically disadvantaged businesses. We have a historically underutilized business zone program or hub zone. It's a locational based program whereby the government tries to get those contracting dollars into distressed communities. So there are communities that have been identified as hub zones. You can actually go online and pull that up to see where those are. I know there are some in Beaufort. I didn't look yesterday to see, but definitely across South Carolina, there are hub zones all across the state. And so you can look those up online. Your business, to qualify for that one, your business does have to be located in that hub zone, and then 35% of your employees have to live in a hub zone to qualify for that one. We have a woman-owned small business program. There again, targeting woman-owned small businesses. The woman-owned small business has to own and control the business, and there are set aside funds for that one. And then finally, the service-disabled veteran owned small business, or there's also, we took over the programs from the VA. We took over their contracting programs, and it's called VetCert. So contracting programs for veterans as well. Not really a good way to start a business doing this, but if you are in business, it's a really good way to grow your business. So let's talk about SBA loans for just a second. SBA does not provide loans directly. We provide loan guarantees or backing to banks, and what that does is it reduces the risk to the bank, and so it encourages them to make loans to small businesses. As Martin said, lending has gotten a little bit tight. So when that happens, lenders start looking at SBA. So how they want to make this deal, but they got to get comfortable with it. So they can seek SBA and request an SBA guarantee. And so by doing that, they can offer competitive terms, lower down payments, flexible overhead requirements. And for some of those loans, it actually comes with counseling and education. So it's not a situation where the bank says, hey, here's your loan, first payment is due in 30 days, good luck. But they make the loan, and then they analyze and determine what that business may need to help them be successful, and then they provide that technical assistance during the period of term of the loan. So a really good program there. The SBA loan program is really one of the best federal programs, in my opinion, in that it is a loan guarantee. These loan dollars don't have to come out of the Treasury for us to be able to make these loans. The only time the government ever has to put out any funding is if the loan were to go into default. And then we do charge some fees on the loans, and those fees are used to pay for any losses. So it's really kind of like a net neutral kind of thing where, it's not costing the tax dollars or taxpayers any dollars. So really good opportunity for businesses, and just helps drive the economy, really. I did want to share this with you. This is what we call Lender Match. It's just a matchmaking tool that SBA has on our website. So if you're in business and you're trying to find financing, you can utilize this tool to get matched with potential lenders that are interested in your project. So, you go on the website, you click Lender Match, you create a borrowing profile, if you will. You answer about 20 questions. You hit submit. The banks have 2 days to review it, and if it's something they're interested in, they accept it, and you will get a list of the banks that would be interested in talking to you about your potential project. So it's just a good way to kind of shop your loan out. There's no commitment. They don't pull any credit reports. Really, it's just a way, an easy way to shop your potential loan. Have contact information here. We are a very small federal agency. Our state office is in Columbia. We have a one-person office in Spartanburg, and then I'm a one-person office in Charleston. So you have all that contact information. And then there again, that's my contact information. So just again, wanted to thank you for being here today, and take advantage of the opportunity to learn more about disaster preparation and recovery.
That's good. Good morning. My name is John O'Toole. It's a pleasure to be with you. Sasha, thanks for getting me here and reminding me to be here. I want to remind people that we live in a community of support, you know, where there are so many resources. You heard today from the Chamber, the Black Chamber, the USCB, SBA, SBDC at USBD. Okay, USCB. But there's a lot of resources. When I was young, they said keep your nose to the grindstone, and I think that's a little wrong in that there's a lot of support here in Beaufort County for you. I'm John O'Toole, Executive Director of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. And I'm reminded of two things as I stand before you this morning. One is that yesterday they broke ground on a DOT did for a new ramp for a large manufacturer. So if you think about it, the large corporation needs something, they ask for services and they get those because it's going to be a great job creator in that community. Scout Motors in that case. But they're getting use of tax dollars. A lot of the speakers you heard from today are there to help you, the small business. And it also reminds me, many years ago, I was at a conference in Charleston, where the speaker from one of the big four accounting firms said that, do you realize in the last 10 years, the large corporations hadn't created one net new job? The growth really comes from small business. And then I'll punctuate that with, I've been doing this economic development for 7 years in Beaufort County, and we've done 75 projects, and they add up to $498 million. They created 2,050 jobs. And what fits here in Beaufort is that they're really small businesses that made up most of that job creation, most of that investment, is that it tucks in really nicely with what everyone likes about the community. And so as a small business person, I would just encourage you not to be shy. You live in a community where there's support and you've got to reach out and ask that. Do you think that large corporation was hesitant to ask for assistance when they asked for a new exchange on, I think it's I-26? No, they weren't. So I encourage the small business folks not to be shy. Our website is thrivebuford.org, and once you get our cell phone number, you can really call us around the clock. Things that we try to remind people this time of year is that if your work is critical, to make sure you're registered with the Sheriff's Department so you can do reentry. Then after the storm, you may have frustration points. Call any of the partners that you heard here this morning, or you can call us and we'll get you in touch with the right partner. But we have a lot of relationships with local government, county government, state government, and obviously the federal government. So it really should be seamless. When you have a frustration point, again, don't keep your nose to the grindstone. Look up and call somebody for help. You shouldn't be frustrated after the storm any more than you have to. And I'll end with this, that last night I was watching the evening news and you saw LA strong. And, you know, at different times we've seen New Orleans strong and Boston strong. Well, we're low country strong, and we have to all come together after the storm to try to make sure everyone is taken care of, that you can get your business open, that you can get rebuilt. And I'm reminded, I don't have a great parachute story like Marilyn, but I'll remember that forever. But I was reminded in our training that there are three types of people: unconscious and incompetent. There are those who appear conscious, but you know they're kind of lucking into it. And then there are the conscious and competent. And I would say, as you're facing a storm, have the plan. As you're after the storm, reach out to people that can help you, and you will appear conscious and competent and get back on your feet quickly. We have a lot of great partnerships here, and I'm just glad to be one part of it. Thank you.
And now we're going to turn it over to Stephen Clark. He's joining us virtually from Greenville, South Carolina, where he's currently deployed. And he'll be talking to us about what is specifically available right now for small business owners who may have been impacted by Hurricane Helene. And even if you were not, these programs will be in existence this coming hurricane season. Hopefully we won't need them though. Stephen, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Good deal. Yes. I am Stephen Clark. I am also a public affairs specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And in the past 2 years, I've traveled to a number of disaster locations, but most importantly, I arrived in South Carolina on October 2nd and have pretty much been in South Carolina ever since, working on recovery resources for Hurricane Helene. And that's what I believe about the next 12 slides discuss. I'll give you some background on our programs, and I'll provide a bit more specifics about what you want to look for and what resources are available for you as a business person, but also in any of the cases where we're available with physical damage loans, what is available for your friends and neighbors, perhaps employees, suppliers, customers, in the form of physical damage loans available for homeowners, renters, and nonprofits. So here you can see our slide. This is our mission statement. So we are connecting individuals, we're improving recovery outcomes and economic resilience. This is a pretty big deal. Many small businesses do not have a whole lot of cash on hand. And so being able to get disaster loans to businesses that are disrupted by disasters like hurricanes or really anything like that is very important to helping them stay in business and keep their employment and keep the local economies in areas going in these times of disruptions. You go to the next slide, please. Primarily, I'm here discussing the specifics of the Presidential Disaster Declaration in the state of South Carolina for Hurricane Helene. However, if you do know, like I said, friends, relatives, former neighbors in other states that were affected by Helene, pretty much most of these same programs are available in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, I think West Virginia. And so it's not to say that since we're just discussing South Carolina here, that these things are not available. But the basics are the damage period is stated there for when the damage occurred, and pretty much half of the counties in South Carolina are in the primary counties in the declaration. This is a useful distinction, which we'll get to kind of on the next page, I believe, between the primary counties and contiguous counties in terms of what loans are available for physical damage versus economic injury in those locations. If we could go to the next slide, please. So unlike the earlier presentations where we discussed the, you might say, regular types of SBA loans, the SBA has disaster loans, and these loans, as future slides will discuss, are direct from the federal government. So they're differently handled than the other types of loans that we assist small businesses in getting. In addition, beyond the scope of small businesses, these disaster loans, primarily are physical damage loans, are available for homeowners, renters, private nonprofits, and businesses. And so that is a bit different than the other kind of things which SBA are doing, which is really focused on helping small businesses. So in this case, we have physical damage disaster loans, and the application deadline on those in this presidential disaster declaration was January 28th. However, we do have a 60-day grace period for late applications. And if you go to the, for example, the page featuring information about the South Carolina Declaration at lending.sba.gov, you'll note that in the section where it says the application deadline, it has right below it, it says still accepting applications. So that is an option available. So if you find yourself or know of someone who has problems, perhaps they didn't get the amount of insurance money they thought they would get, or perhaps their damage was not covered by insurance, this may still be a good option for someone who needs money to repair or rebuild, or perhaps even relocate, who had physical damage, to apply in this grace period. But I guess I'd say the primary portion that we're really focusing on right now at this point in this disaster declaration are our economic injury disaster loans. So these are working capital loans, and these are available to help pay for ordinary and necessary operating expenses. The important thing to remember is these do not require that a business or a nonprofit applicant have actually had any physical damage. It's not to say that if you did have physical damage, you wouldn't be eligible for an economic injury disaster loan. A business could be eligible for both of the types of loans, but that there are a number of businesses, and I've spoken with people over much of South Carolina, that their business may not have had any physical damage, but the area they're operating in may have had tremendous disruptions. Trees down, roads closed, and I think most importantly, for large areas of the state, the power was out for days or weeks, or even in some areas, months. And that could very much disrupt your ability to operate a business. That could disrupt your ability of your suppliers or your customers to get to you, or to get you the things you need to sell or whatnot. So those would be examples of disruptions that the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is here to help out businesses that have suffered those types of disruptions, which may not have been physical damage to their premises. If we could go to the next slide, please. So the basics of our programs, there's a bit of formalities we do like to discuss. So the governor's certification is an option in other types of disasters, I guess I should say, that in some disasters I've worked on. For example, I went to Buffalo after the blizzard, which took place, I think, in December of 2022. And also I went to Maryland this past, I guess I went there in April after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. So in those situations, there was a governor certification, and we had economic injury disaster loans available in those locations for businesses for these types of. They had working capital available to pay for the various items that are mentioned on this slide, the ordinary and necessary operating expenses. And unlike the physical damage loans, which have an application deadline, which originally is 60 days out from the date of the disaster declaration, our economic injury disaster loans always have an application deadline, which is 9 months out from the date of the disaster declaration. So in the case of South Carolina, for Hurricane Helene, that deadline is June 30th. The idea is we want the businesses and nonprofits to have time to figure out, what is the extent of our disruptions? Have we lost business? Are there seasonal things that we're running into now, perhaps with some lag, that have caused us problems that were not initially apparent, but maybe 2 months, 6 months down the road are an issue, and this might be something that the business or nonprofit needs. In those cases, you've got the 9 months to apply for these type of loans, and that is an option available for you. So these loans can be up to 30 years, and they are at a 4% rate for businesses, 3.25 for nonprofits. We like to highlight that there are no required payments, and no accrued interest for the first year after the first disbursement on these disaster loans. For our business loans, the maximum amount is $2 million. And the, I guess, other important thing to think about regarding our disaster loans is, unlike other types of SBA loans, which you might be using to buy new equipment or buy real estate or do some sort of expansion, the idea with the economic injury disaster loan is this is to help you recover to where you were at in the business before the disaster. So they are not designed to help you fund, say, expansion, but to get you back to, the point is this is a recovery resource, and that's how things are oriented. So you would want to use the funds to pay for these ordinary and necessary operating expenses, to pay for the things you need, to replace equipment or property or other items that might be lost, inventory, things like that, but not to expand your operations. I also like to highlight that you have, from when your loan is approved, you have 60 days to decide if you want to take the loan. There are no application fees for the disaster loans, and there's no obligation to take the loan. So we really encourage anyone who has any, I guess, kind of interest or thinks this might be useful for them to apply. And you can always decide not to take the loan, but until you start the process of applying, you won't know what you're eligible for. And of course, if you do need the money and you wait, that will delay when you'll be able to get your first disbursement. So those are things to think about. If we could go to the next slide, please. So I've discussed some of this in my previous comments, but I do like to highlight all of these elements that many people say, oh, okay, well, I've had an SBA loan in the past. I used it to start up my business, 20 years ago, Steve. What are these disaster loans you're talking about? And these items cover the basics of it, that the funds are direct from the U.S. Treasury. You don't need to find a lender in this case. There is no bank involved. Our goal is that this streamlines the processing process, in that there's only one loan officer you're working with, who is at our processing and disbursement center out of Fort Worth, Texas. So you don't go to a bank. You can apply online. There are some centers from time to time where you can apply in person, and we can provide you information about those kind of resources. You could get assistance from, say, the SBDC in applying for something like this. Also, like other types of SBA loans, you could get assistance in applying from a financial advisor or your accountant or your attorney. And as I said earlier, there is no obligation. There's no application fee, and that it is important to note, because some people say, okay, I had an idle loan from COVID. Am I eligible for this? Or I had a disaster loan from some other disaster years ago that I'm paying on. Am I still eligible? And the answer is yes. You can have multiple SBA disaster loans, but as the last point notes, the loans would not be consolidated. You just have multiple loans. So that's the situation there. If we go to the next slide, please. The basics of the loans, this is entirely based on geography. So the first point is eligibility. So for the physical damage loans, you must be in what we call a primary county, and that's an area that is determined to have sufficient damage that it necessitates having those resources available for physical damage loans. For the economic injury disaster loans, those loans are available in all of the primary counties. So I believe that's 29 counties in South Carolina, and they're also available in all of the contiguous counties. So that's a number of additional counties in South Carolina, and it's also available in some counties that would be bordering in North Carolina and Georgia. But I believe all those North Carolina and Georgia contiguous counties to the South Carolina Declaration are primary counties in those states. So that's a little bit of a special situation. But the first important point is to find out, are you located in an area where this is available? And for all of our declarations, we have a fact sheet. If you need information about the fact sheet, those are available online, but also I could provide you one, or or someone from the SBA like myself or Sasha could look up and say, okay, this county that you're in, yes, you're in a county that's eligible, or you're asking for a friend or the business of. We could look up that information. The second point, we are running a credit check when people are applying, so you must have a credit history that's acceptable to the SBA. The most important point, however, for eligibility for these loans is, do you have the ability to repay this loan and the other loans you have? So pretty much the idea of, do you have the free cash flow? So it's very much looking at your current budget and what the business is taking in, what money the business has to spend on various other debt service and other fixed obligations. And then over, say, up to our 30-year term, can we come up with a monthly payment that is going to fit within the ability of this business or other borrower, homeowner, renter, nonprofit, to repay? Another item we do like to address is that for our economic injury disaster loans of over $50,000, we are taking collateral. And that may include a security interest, say, on real estate, or filing, in the case of some of the business loans, a financing statement to get a security interest in business personal property, perhaps equipment or other non-real estate property. So that is something to be aware of. We could go to the next slide then. And some basics here. In terms of applying, we do need a bit of information. I don't think the amount of details may not necessarily be as great as we discussed earlier, but when applying, make sure you've got your contact information, cell phone numbers for all of the applicants. So if there are, say, multiple owners of the business, that we have things like the Social Security numbers, essentially basic financial statements, and tax returns. Although the SBA, we will be obtaining a tax transcript to verify that tax information. So those are pretty much the basics of what you need to get together. Of course, we will make sure to help tell you what documents you need to get together when working with our customer service representatives or your loan officer in processing the loan. So that's the situation there. And additionally, as it notes at the bottom, the processing and disbursement center may require additional documentation. So please monitor your phone and email if they're contacting you saying, hey, please clarify this, or please provide additional documentation. Now, some of the basics to be aware of in terms of these tips we list are to make sure that in the application you're using the correct legal name for the business as it's registered, say, with the state of South Carolina, and to have information about, make sure to, although I probably shouldn't say this, it's useful to make sure you have your username and password, and you have these things, recorded so you're able to log in to our system. And to be able to check your email to make sure you're getting information, if we're asking for more information, that you're able to do that. Here we have some basics of the SBA loan in terms of our customer service number and how to contact them by email, but also in the chat and probably, in person at the meeting, you could get information as well from Sasha and I. And those are pretty much the basics. We do like to highlight that there are resource partners, primarily the SBDC, that's available to help people with other issues regarding business. And like they were saying, they can help you with planning and other types of items. I guess I would like to highlight, I believe, one additional thing, that for our physical damage disaster loans, you can get an additional 20% above the loan amount for mitigation improvements. So this might be something that might involve making something more resilient to resist, say, flooding, changing building materials, drainage improvements, sump pumps, and also for businesses, the mitigation improvements might include changing the electrical system to be less less vulnerable to flooding, moving electrical boxes to higher elevation locations, but also may include wiring and installing backup generator systems to help prevent having power out, especially if your business that has refrigerators or freezers and has perishable material that could spoil during an extended power outage. So that I know I've talked to a lot of businesses that had that issue happen with Helene, that their power was out, and especially restaurants, things like that, they may have lost a considerable amount of inventory. So that's just one example of some of the things that the physical damage loans can be done to help make you more resilient in the future. And there's some more contact information, but we can provide you that as well later if you have additional questions. So I believe that covers pretty much what I've been covering, and I thank you for your time and attention today.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us virtually to present that. And I would like to thank everyone online and here in person for joining us. We will be sending out these slides as well as the handouts to all of the attendees. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or submit them, and we'll make sure that we get those answered for you and that you'll have the contact information from each of the organizations who participated today. Thank you so much to the Beaufort County Regional Chamber of Commerce for hosting us. Thank you so much to our partners, the SBDC, our South Carolina District Office, and to all of you for being here. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Oh wow, that's what we look like.
So do you know how many were on the call?
I don't know, but we'll get a report.
Uh,
There we go.